Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, Jersey Shore Pondscapes videos. My name is Chris. If you're into koi ponds, water gardens, waterfalls, water plants, pond filtration, so on and so forth, you've definitely come to the right place. I've got a ton of really cool and informative videos here on this channel that I really hope can help you guys out and answer a lot of questions you have, whether you are a pond owner currently, or you're looking to build a pond, or you just need help with a certain subject or have questions. You've come to the right place. So please check out my videos and hopefully you'll find something that can help you out. So today's topic, we're going to be talking about something that I get questioned about all the time, and that's about doing water changes. All right, so we're going to talk about water changes and what are they, how often should I do it, why do I have to do it, how much water do I need to change, and hopefully we can answer all these questions for you, and you'll have a good concept of what you should do with your own pond. Okay. So first and foremost, what are water changes? Okay, so water changes are basically a way of removing some of the old water out of your pond and replacing it with clean, fresh water. All right. So we're going to dive into this and talk about why and how much and when and all this. Okay. Now, the main reason why you may want to be doing water changes in your pond is due to a buildup of nitrates. Okay, so in a pond system, in a biological filter system, we have what's called the nitrogen cycle. It's when bacteria, two types of bacteria, grow in your filter and in your whole pond system, and that bacteria basically takes ammonia, turns it into nitrites, and then nitrites are into nitrates. Okay, so your end product of your biological filtration is nitrates. All right, now the nitrates are far less toxic in your pond than the ammonia and nitrites. However, they can accumulate and keep building up to high levels, and as they do, they become more toxic to your fish. All right, so we want to remove them. We want to keep that nitrate level down. All right, so there's a whole process called the nitrogen cycle, which explains all of this. And if you have a pond, or you're looking to build one, I would strongly suggest that you learn about this nitrogen cycle. Now, I have another video here on my channel all about that. Like I said, if you don't know about it, I would really suggest you watch that video and learn what it is, because it'll help you to learn how to understand how your pond is functioning and keeping it balanced. Okay, so check that out. But anyway, nitrate levels can build up in the pond. Now, nitrates are used as a plant fertilizer. Okay, the plants in your pond can absorb these nitrates and hopefully help to keep those levels down. So just again, plain and simple, if we have a nitrate level that's here, okay, and we have a couple plants in our pond, and let's say the level is here, right? This level of plants isn't going to be enough to reduce this level of nitrates that are being produced, right? So the nitrate level will continue to rise. If we have our nitrate level here and we have a ton of plants and our plant level is here, okay, those plants will consistently be able to absorb all those nitrates, and our nitrate level will never rise, okay, typically. All right. So if you have a water garden, okay, to me there's two types of ponds, a water garden and a koi pond. A water garden is specifically made for a mixture of fish and plants. Now, usually in a water garden, the fish that we're talking about are goldfish, shabunkin, and maybe a couple little koi. All right. Sometimes koi can coexist fine, but then we have a koi pond, okay? And to me, a koi pond is simply a pond for koi. It's not a garden, okay? It's not for plants and stuff. It's a pond to show off your koi. Now, some people that have koi ponds also have some plants in it, and that's fine. But sometimes there's a tendency that these koi, as they get bigger and bigger and bigger, will tear apart, rip apart, eat the plants, destroy them, okay? So I kind of look at things two different ways, okay? A water garden and a koi pond. Now, in that water garden, we have lots of plants, right? So typically, those plants, if we have the right balance, should be able to keep that nitrate level down, all right? In a koi pond, we don't have the plants, okay, or as many. So the nitrate levels will climb. So this is where we need to step in and physically reduce the nitrate levels by doing water changes, okay? Pulling water out, pulling nitrates out of the pond and replacing it with clean, fresh water, okay? Helps to dilute it and keep that level down, all right? Now, how often and how much water we need to replace is really dependent upon the system itself, okay? So I'm going to try to explain this to you, to not getting too crazy, but try, you know, explain it so you can kind of understand what's going on, you know, plain and simple. The amount of organic matter you have in the pond, that's maybe, you know, algae, fish, leaves, whatever, you know, rotting material in the pond. You know, the more fish you have, the more you feed your fish, the more waste they produce, the more ammonia they produce, okay? The more that this bacteria needs to turn all this into nitrites and then nitrates, okay? So the more we're feeding into this nitrogen cycle, the more nitrates we're going to get out at the end, okay? So every pond is different. All right. You may have a 5,000 gallon pond with 20 fish in it, okay? And your end nitrate level could be here. But that same 5,000 gallon pond with 50 fish in it, your nitrate level might be here, okay? So you see, it's all different. It's not always dependent on the size of the pond or how many gallons are in the pond. It depends on the entire bio load in the system, okay? So how often should we do these water changes and how much water should be changed depends on our bio load, okay? You know, what our nitrate levels are. Now, how do we know what our nitrate levels are in a pond? All right, well, quite simple. There's test kits, okay? If you own a pond, you should have a test kit. It's a good idea to have a test kit. In those test kits, you're going to find a test for nitrates, okay? Usually you have ammonia, nitrites, and nitrates all in that test kit. So you can test the nitrates and you can see if they're starting to climb. You should probably do a water change, okay? Now, when we do water changes, we do not want to take out all the water in the pond and refill it, all right? That's not the point. The point is to control it little by little, right? So maybe once a week, right? Or once every 2 weeks, maybe. If we took out anywhere, I'm typically looking at 10 to 25% of the water, all right, to do that water change. If we do that on a consistent basis, we can keep those nitrate levels down, all right? Now, there's also a lot of other things that can build up in the water as well that we help to reduce by doing this. But the nitrates are definitely on the top of the list, all right? So that's basically, you know, what we're looking at. We need to test our water, know what our nitrate level is, and, you know, do water changes accordingly. Now, I have some clients that do these water changes like, you know, clockwork. Every time they do their maintenance, to clean their filters, whatever, they drain water out of the pond and do a water change at the same time. I have other clients that, you know, probably never do it, okay? However, for the people who never do water changes, here's something else to think about, okay? You're not physically doing water changes, but there are a lot of times when we are adding fresh water to the pond, okay? Now, you might have a hot summer, right? And water evaporates, all right? When water evaporates, that doesn't always mean that the toxins in the water evaporate and disappear with it, okay? Things like salt, right? If you keep salt in your pond and the water evaporates, the salt does not evaporate. The salt level stays the same, all right? But you then are adding new water to refill the pond. Maybe it rains, right? You're getting some fresh water in that way. Depending on what type of filter systems you have, if you have a bead filter, if you have a big biological filter, a gravity-fed filter system where you know, you're cleaning the system, you're backwashing the system, you're you know, cleaning the filter tanks, and taking out all the dirty water and sludge and stuff out of the filter tanks. You're removing water from the pond, right? Especially with a bead filter when you backwash, okay? You're pumping water from the pond, backwashing the filter, and the filter is, you know, spitting it out a waste line, okay? So at that point, you know, depending on how much you're backwashing or how big your filters are that you're cleaning, right, you're removing water from the pond. So we need to top it back off. So even though you're not physically doing a water change per se all the time, you know, there are times when you are refilling the pond with some fresh water. So, I mean, every little bit helps, okay? So, it never hurts to do it. If you never do water changes and your pond and system is fine and happy and healthy, a lot of times I have the little philosophy that's, you know, if it's not broke, don't fix it, okay? However, you know, doing a water change, you know, at 10%, 20% will never hurt, okay? It'll never hurt anything. And that's typically all we need to do. So whether it's once a month, once every couple weeks, you know, whatever you're comfortable with, it's up to you. It's up to your system, okay? You know, what is keeping your system happy and healthy? And even more so sometimes, what is keeping you happy? Okay, because I have a lot of people that really care about their koi and their ponds, and just knowing that they do that water change every week or every 2 weeks, whatever it is, they're confident that, you know what, I'm doing a good thing, my pond is staying healthy, it's clean, it's clear, everything is good. So awesome, okay? So yeah, so now another thing to think about, okay, when doing water changes, what kind of water are we adding back to the pond, all right? If we have well water, great. Keep in mind that in the summer, especially, you know, in the Northeast here, in warmer, cooler climates, it may be hot outside and your pond temperatures may be, you know, 80, 85 degrees in the water, okay? But if you have well water, your tap water out of the well maybe 55 degrees. It's cold, okay? So just keep that in mind as to how much water, how much it is cold water you're putting into a warm pond, okay? We don't want to do too much, okay, at one time. We don't want to change that water temperature in the pond from 82 degrees, right, to 62 degrees, all right? We want to just do a little bit at a time is better. Now, if you have city water, okay, city water is usually warmer, okay? It's usually not as big of an issue. However, city water is treated with chlorine and chloramines to keep it disinfected, to keep the systems clean, okay? So when you drink the water, you're not drinking all kinds of bacteria and all kinds of other crap, okay? So this chlorine and chloramines are toxic to your fish, all right? So if you have city water and you're adding water, city water into your pond, you need to make sure that you're putting in a dechlorinator, okay? It's a simple, easy product. You can pick it up at any, pond store, any place that sells aquarium supplies, a pet shop, anything like that. They have dechlorinators, okay? So, and you only need a little bit, especially if you're just doing a water, a little water change. You're not changing, the entire volume of the pond where you got to put a lot in. You're just tapping it off, and you just want to add a little dechlorinator. Usually, if you're only changing, 10% of the water or something, you probably really don't need to add the dechlorinator, but why not? Put it in. You have nothing to worry about, definitely. Usually if I'm changing more than 25%, a third of the water or something, I'm definitely adding dechlorinator. But for a little bit it dilutes, and then the chloramines will evaporate out of the pond, escape, the gases come out pretty quickly anyway. But if you have it, use it. It's a good habit to get into. Okay, so now lastly, all right, I want to just talk about doing a water change in an emergency situation. Okay, whenever I get a phone call from somebody and said, my fish are sick, I might not even know what it is yet, right? They call me on the phone and say, my fish are laying on the bottom of the pond, they're not eating, they're up at the top, whatever. The first thing I say is, put a water hose in there, get some fresh water in that pond, okay? Just get, freshen it up. Now, I have in the past run into times where the lawn guys, landscape guys come in and cut the lawn, and they put down fertilizer on the lawn. And there's been times when this fertilizer has gotten into the pond. Now, it doesn't take a lot, okay? Fertilizers in these lawns are really, really toxic to the fish, okay? So you get a little bit of this crap in the ponds, and your fish are going to be hurting, okay? So I had one instance where we had found out that some fertilizer got into the pond, and I knew that because there was little fertilizer pellets all over the patio, and then in the grass, and then in the mulch around the pond, and in the rocks around the pond. Okay, so no doubt this stuff got in the pond. So what I immediately had to do was I basically drained about 90% of the water out of the pond. Just pumped it all out and just started refilling it right away. All right, it was like an emergency situation. If the fish stayed in that water, they would have all been dead. All right, so that was a major water change due to an emergency. Okay, and as it filled up, I'm adding dechlorinator to it. So and it works. Okay, the remaining fish were fine, just fine after that. I had another instance where another service came in for a mosquito control, and they sprayed all the trees on the property with mosquito stuff. So when they did that, the homeowner covered up the pond with a tarp, a big tarp. So when they sprayed all the stuff in the trees, it wouldn't get in the pond, okay? Well, good idea, right? Was a good idea, definitely. Cover that pond, don't let any of that, chemical get in there. The problem was, a few days later, it rained. And all the rain washed the chemicals out of the leaves from the tree by the pond, and it all dripped in the pond and killed most of the fish. So I did the same thing. I ran over there, pumped out all the water, right, 90% of the water, and filled it all back up again, and then we were fine. So there's times like that when a major water change is, certainly a life-saving thing to do, but typically, we do in water changes, like I said, 10-20%, is great. Okay, so I think, you know, we've basically talked about a lot of stuff here. I hope you kind of got the idea now, the concept of doing water changes, how much you need to do, when you need to do it, right? Test that water, understand the nitrogen cycle, okay? Get your, you know, nitrate test kit there and test your nitrates, make sure our nitrate level isn't going up. If it's not too high, you don't have to do a big water change. If the nitrate levels continue to increase and you do a water change and a week later they're starting to build up again, you know, we gotta get on top of it and do a little bit more. Typically, it's not really a bad thing. It's not hard to do, and it's just a good way to keep your pond happy and healthy, and the fish, you know, healthy and happy as well. Okay, so definitely, you know, something to think about. All right, so I hope I answered some questions for you and you understand why we do water changes now and all this stuff. So thank you for watching the video. If it helped you out, you know, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, and hopefully you can find some more videos that, you know, can really teach you some things. All right, I got some cool stuff here. So thanks a lot, and hopefully we'll see you back in another video. Take care. Bye.